Well, for more on this latest twist in the seemingly never-ending Brexit saga, I'm joined on set now by France 24's Catherine Norris-Trent, who's been reporting on the question of the Irish backstop in recent days. Can you start by telling us just why this question of the Irish backstop is so significant here?
Well, the Irish backstop has been the major sticking point for several months now, and one of the main reasons why Theresa May's Brexit deal, which she'd negotiated painstakingly with the EU for 2.5 years, was rejected by that historic parliamentary majority. And basically, the Northern Ireland backstop is an insurance policy against there being a hard border between Northern Ireland, which is part of the UK, and the Republic of Ireland to the south. It keeps them in regulatory alignment so that there'd be no differences in tariffs or rules about livestock, if it's a big farming area, so that the flow of people and goods would continue smoothly. And that's contentious because there's been a hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland during the Troubles, the decades of killing and violence in the past, and it was one of the major points of tension. And under the Good Friday Agreement of 1998, there was a commitment to never having a hard border again. So this is an insurance policy, basically, to say that if there's no lasting solution found, that the UK, the whole of the UK, including Northern Ireland, would stay in a customs union with the European Union. Northern Ireland would also keep some European Union rules to allow for that free flow of goods and people on an indefinite basis. And that's what's got some of these hardline Brexiters so riled up, is they say that the UK won't be able to unilaterally pull out of this backstop arrangement. It won't be able to get out of it. They see it as a trap that all 27 other European states have to vote on the UK leaving the backstop. So they're very worried that this takes away from the UK sovereignty and keeps them locked into European rules. And they have been pushing Theresa May to go back to Brussels, to renegotiate, to try and get some legally binding changes. Now, that's key here because there have been reassurances in letters from European leaders. There's been things in the political declaration about, this backstop isn't going to last forever. But what the hardline Brexiters want in Theresa May's Conservative Party and in the Northern Irish DUP, hardline Brexiters as well, they want the withdrawal agreement, the Brexit deal, reopened up formally, and something in there legally binding in that text saying that this backstop isn't going to last forever, or that there's an alternative arrangement we're talking about now. We're not quite sure what these alternative arrangements would be, but they just want to see this backstop watered down, give a get-out clause to the UK.
Now, away from Parliament in London, you've been speaking to people on both sides of that Irish border. What have they been telling you?
Well, people in the Republic of Ireland and in Northern Ireland are very anxious indeed about this question. It's not just an abstract, legal conundrum, constitutional debate. This is about their day-to-day lives. There are around 40,000 people every day who cross that border. Now, it's an extremely long, winding border. There are many, many passage points. There are roads which cross that border at several points, some of them many times. It's very difficult to install border checks and a hard border because what the British Army did back in the day in the 1970s and 80s was blocked off some of these minor roads with huge concrete blocks and set up big military barracks and checkpoints on the other ones. And it was a very hostile, tense environment indeed. And there were terror attacks on those military checkpoints. It became a target. It became a kind of symbol of the tensions between Northern Irish Unionists and those who wanted a united Ireland. So there's a lot of emotional fear about having that reinstalled again. There are a lot of practical fears too. People's businesses and daily lives really rely on being able to cross that border. A lot of the business there, the farming business, relies on animals, goods being transported across the border. They're worried about the impact on peace and they're worried about the impact on the economy on both sides of the border.
And what exactly is Prime Minister Theresa May hoping to achieve on this backstop issue? What's her ideal solution?
Well, Theresa May had negotiated this backstop with the EU. Now we're hearing she's going to be backing an amendment to her own text, which is rather unusual, but then, nothing in Brexit, it seems, is ever simple these days. Anyway, she's expected now to come out and call on her MPs from the Conservative Party and all MPs to get behind this amendment, which has been tabled by Sir Graham Brady, who is the chair of the 1922 committee, Conservative backbench MPs, many of them Eurosceptics. And he's put forward this amendment saying, look, we want to go back to the negotiating table with the EU and we want to have alternative arrangements to a hard border, not the backstop. Now, it's very unclear what he means by alternative arrangements. Indeed, he was pressed on this in interviews on Monday, and he just said, well, alternative arrangements means alternative arrangements. He wouldn't say. So clearly it's very vague. Also, there's the massive question of whether the EU is going to want to reopen the withdrawal agreement. Brussels has said several times that that is not an option, that this deal has been struck, that they're not going back to the negotiating table. So we have to wait and see what kind of reception this gets in Brussels. The noises coming out from EU diplomats this Tuesday don't sound hopeful, but I guess we'll have to see. Theresa May wants as many MPs as possible to back this amendment so she can go to Brussels and say, look, I've got this many MPs backing this amendment. This is what Parliament wants. You say you want to know what Britain wants. This is what we want. Now do something about it. So she's going to be going back to the drawing table, and she hopes with perhaps a card to play from a strong backing for MPs for this amendment, if it indeed is selected by the Speaker of the House of Commons, because this is all quite archaic. The Speaker can select which amendments of the many which have been tabled will be voted on today. It's widely expected that this Brady amendment will be selected, as well as the Cooper amendment, which is about extending Article 50, delaying the whole Brexit process. But that's still all up in the air. We're waiting to hear about which amendments concretely MPs will be voting on.
So very many things are still up in the air in the UK today. And of course, will this ever be accepted by the EU? That's a huge question as well. Catherine Norris-Trent with that analysis. Thank you very much indeed.